It was a humid summer night in a sleepy, unassuming town. The kind of town where everyone knew everyone else's business, but the secrets always seemed to remain just out of reach. The distant hum of cicadas filled the air as the last few cars of the evening drove down the empty streets. On the corner of 6th and Main, the lights of a small, old diner flickered, casting an eerie glow on the cracked pavement below. The people who came here weren't rich, nor were they famous. They were the kind of people who worked long hours in the factory, at the gas station, or the grocery store. Their lives were simple, and their stories, tragically, were often forgotten. Tonight, however, one of those forgotten lives will be pulled into the spotlight, forever changing the way the town would look at itself. A 911 call came in just before midnight. The voice on the other end was frantic, barely understandable through the panicked sobs. They're dead. They're all dead, the caller screamed before the line went dead. Within minutes, officers were racing through the darkened streets. What awaited them in the small, run-down apartment on the edge of town would chill them to their core. Inside, a scene of horror unfolded. The bodies of two young women, both in their early 20s, lay lifeless on the floor. Their throats were slashed with precision, and their bodies had been discarded in a way that suggested the killer had no intention of being caught. The apartment, once a home, was now a crime scene, a grim testament to a tragedy that would remain shrouded in mystery for years. This wasn't just any crime. It was a case that no one cared about. It was a kind of murder that slipped through the cracks, the kind that many dismiss as a drug deal gone wrong or just another victim of the streets. But as the investigation unfolded, one thing became clear. These young women were not the first victims of their kind. And in this quiet town, they would not be the last. The town of Montgomery Falls had never been known for much. A quaint community nestled in the heart of rural America, it had a population of just under 20,000. People lived simple lives here, quiet, uneventful, and predictable. But the moment the bodies of Stacey and Riley Thompson were discovered, everything began to change. Stacey was the kind of girl who always had a smile on her face, even when life wasn't easy. She had grown up in Montgomery Falls, but had spent the last few years living in the apartment with her cousin, Riley, who had moved to the town after running into trouble back in her hometown. Both women had made some poor choices in their lives, but they were trying to turn things around. Stacey had recently started working at a local diner, and Riley had just signed up for a community college course to learn a trade. They weren't perfect, but they didn't deserve to die like this. They didn't deserve to be forgotten. The night of the murders, Stacey had been working a late shift at the diner. It was an uneventful evening until a regular customer, Mike Reynolds, had come in. He was a middle-aged man who had been a staple in the diner for years, but something about his behavior that night was off. He sat alone in the corner booth, nursing a cup of coffee long after the last customers had left. He kept glancing nervously out the window, as if he were expecting someone, or something. Around 11:30 p.m., Mike stood up abruptly and left without paying. Stacey had never thought twice about it. Customers came and went, some paying, some not. But that night, Mike's strange behavior would later be linked to the murders of Stacey and Riley. When the police arrived at the apartment, the evidence was sparse. There were no signs of forced entry, no fingerprints left behind. The killer had been meticulous, but the absence of clues didn't stop the investigators from diving headfirst into the case. Detective Laura Hayes was assigned to the case. A seasoned investigator with over a decade of experience, she had seen her fair share of violent crimes, but something about this one unsettled her. It was as if someone had gone out of their way to erase any trace of themselves. The precision of the murders, the cleanliness of the crime scene, it all pointed to someone who knew exactly what they were doing. The first suspect, of course, was Mike Reynolds, the man last seen with Stacey before she was murdered. But when Detective Hayes interviewed him, he was strangely calm, even for someone who was being questioned about a double homicide. "I didn't kill anyone," Mike insisted, his voice almost too steady. I was just scared. You don't know what it's like to have people after you." He claimed that he had been followed by someone in a black car after he left the diner. But the police found no evidence of a car matching that description. And when they checked his alibi for the night of the murder, they found that Mike had been at a local bar, which could corroborate his story. Still, Hayes couldn't shake the feeling that he knew more than he was letting on. But as the investigation continued, new leads emerged that would point her in a different direction. As the days turned into weeks, Detective Hayes dug deeper into backgrounds of Stacey and Riley. What she discovered was unsettling. Both women had come into contact with some dangerous people in their pasts. Riley had a history of hanging out with drug dealers, and Stacey had once been in a relationship with a man named Travis Keller, someone with known ties to the local criminal underworld. Travis had been in and out of jail for years, and his name had popped up in multiple unsolved cases in Montgomery Falls. But there had never been enough evidence to link him to anything more serious. He was always one step ahead of the law. As Hayes spoke to more of Riley and Stacey's friends, she learned that Travis had been seen at the diner just days before the murders. He had been sitting in a dark corner, his face hidden behind a baseball cap, speaking in hushed tones to someone who was never identified. That same night, the diner had been unusually empty, with no one else around to witness the conversation. Could it be possible that Travis was involved in the murders? Hayes had to find out. A breakthrough came when a witness stepped forward. It was a young man named Kyle, who had been working at the local gas station just down the street from the apartment complex where Stacey and Riley had lived. Kyle had seen Travis and Mike Reynolds arguing outside the diner 2 nights before the murders. The argument had been heated, with Travis shouting something about making sure they don't talk and keeping things quiet. Kyle was hesitant to speak at first, but eventually his conscience got the better of him. His testimony would later be crucial in the investigation. With this new information, Detective Hayes was able to secure a search warrant for Travis Keller's property. What they found would shake the town to its core. Inside Travis's home, they discovered blood-stained clothing, a weapon, and most damning of all, photographs of Stacey and Riley taken without their knowledge. But the most chilling discovery was yet to come. Despite the mounting evidence, Travis denied any involvement in the murders. He claimed that the photographs were taken to keep tabs on the women who had allegedly owed him money from a previous drug deal. But the police couldn't tie him to the actual killings. There were still too many unanswered questions. Why was Mike Reynolds acting so strangely? What role did he play in all of this? Was he merely an accomplice? Or was he being manipulated by someone more dangerous? And most importantly, why had no one cared enough to investigate the crimes more thoroughly from the beginning? Despite the arrest of Travis Keller, many questions remained unanswered. The case never fully made sense. Why had Riley and Stacey been targeted? Was it truly a drug-related issue, or was there something darker at play? Was Travis acting alone, or was he just a pawn in a much larger, more sinister game? The trial that followed was filled with tension. Some people in Montgomery Falls believed that justice had been served, while others felt that the case was still shrouded in mystery. Travis was convicted of 2 counts of murder and sentenced to life in prison, but many people, including Detective Hayes, couldn't help but feel that there were pieces of the puzzle still missing. The case of Stacey and Riley Thompson's murders would go down as one of Montgomery Falls' most infamous, though not for the reasons people might expect. It wasn't just about the victims. It was about how easily the lives of certain people were overlooked and forgotten. It was about how society, at times, is quick to dismiss the lives of those who are already living on the fringes. And it's a reminder of the countless victims who slipped through the cracks, their stories untold and their deaths unnoticed. Was Travis Keller the true killer, or was there someone else involved? What do you think happened that night? Leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime stories, and share this with someone who loves a good mystery. Who knows? Maybe you'll uncover the piece of evidence that no one else has seen.